Hey, it's Pete here, and today I wanted to talk about what is the best bridge system? What should you actually be playing? Now, before I just delve straight into it, I think it's important to have an understanding of what are the difference between the different bridge systems. So I'll give you a bit of a rundown. So let's jump in and look at what a comparison between standard is and 2/1. So there's a few different systems I want to talk about. I want to talk about standard. I want to talk about 2/1, strong club systems, weak no trump systems, or ACCol. And there's another one, Polish club, which I'll just touch on at the end. So what's the difference between standard and 2/1? Now, there's a few differences, but the main difference here is when you are responding one no trump. So your partner opens one of a major and you're responding one no trump, or instead you're bidding something at the 2 level. So in standard, when you respond one no trump, it's 6 to 9 points, but in 2/1, they branch out that point range just a little bit more to 6 to 12. And what this actually changes is if you are instead bidding a new suit at the 2 level, in standard it's 10 plus, whereas in 2/1 it is now game forcing. So you'll hear it be called 2/1 game force. So this is the main difference between standard and 2/1. What about standard and weak no trump systems? So what about standard versus ACCol? So in standard, the main difference between that and ACCol is how you show your different balanced point ranges. So in standard, if you rebid one no trump as opener, so you open something and then rebid something, rebid one no trump, that would be 12 to 14 points balanced. Whereas in ACCol, they've actually switched that around to be 15 to 17. And in standard, if you open one no trump, it's 15 to 17, whereas in ACCol, it is 12 to 14. So basically, they've just switched the meanings of what's a one no trump opening and what's a one no trump rebid. And what do those changes actually mean? So if you're playing standard and you open one no trump, it's 15 to 17. If you're playing ACCol and you open one no trump, it's 12 to 14. This is the main difference between standard and ACCol. What about standard and precision or strong club systems? There's a variety of strong club systems, but this is really what it comes down to. And the main difference is between your 1 club opening and your 2 club opening. Now, when you're playing standard, your 2 club opening is your game force opening. It's your strongest bid in your system. And if you open something at the 1 level, it's just natural and sort of 12 to 20 points. So a very wide opening strength range, but we've got a bid that says this is game forcing. Whereas in strong club, they've sort of switched the meanings of these 2 bids. Now, if you open 2 clubs, it's natural with clubs and like a minimum-ish hand. And if you open 1 club, this is their strongest bid in their auction, in their system, but it's not game forcing. It's 16 plus any shape. So they've largely just switched those 2 bids. Now, what this actually means is when they make all their other opening bids, they're all limited to sort of 15 points. So in strong club systems, they've got a lot narrower point range of what their other opening bids mean. Whereas in standard, they have a focus on getting the shape out early, not too worrying about the points and try and catch up on points. And you have a bid to show this is my game forcing strength bid. So these are the various differences between standard and precision, or strong club, or standard and ACCol, or standard and 2/1. So the next question is, well, what's the actual best system to play? My favorite system is 2/1, but you don't need to take me as the only reference point. I actually thought it'd be really interesting to look at the World Championships they're about to go on and look at what variety of systems we actually have there and what's the general consensus there. So here I have made a list of all the different systems people are playing at the World Championships, and 2/1 makes up 61% of the field. There's also 7% that play 2/1 with a weak no trump. So this is effectively ACCol, but changing in that sort of 2/1 variation into it. We've got a decent chunk that's actually just standard. and 17% play strong club as well. So there's a good chunk playing strong club, and there is also a pair playing Polish club. It's worth noting that usually I see more Polish club players at the World Championships. This year, Poland didn't make it, and that actually reduces that. For those curious about Polish club, which I didn't talk earlier, it's sort of like halfway between standard and strong club. Your one club opening is forcing, but it's not necessarily strong. And there's a variety of extra options in there. It's got some complications, but then you sort of try and untangle it later. But here's the general breakdown of the World Championship list. So I think it's quite important here that 2/1 in general makes a wide array of the field. Over half the field plays 2/1. Does this make it the best system? Not necessarily. There's also important aspects of should you actually switch to 2/1. One important thing is if you play things that you're comfortable with, it's a lot better. And notice all these systems have made it to a World Championship level. So they're all robust enough to be playing at the highest level. The other important factor is all these different systems, having a bit of variety puts people into unique problems, and that certainly can be an advantage. So 2/1's my favorite system. If you don't play it, don't worry. These all get played at the World Championship level, and they're all solid systems. But if you're wondering which system I would recommend, 2/1's my go-to. It's worth noting that, is it the best system? Will it come out on top in the end? And my thoughts are probably not. There is a growing trend of type of systems. It's sort of listed in the 2/1 weak no trump, but is actually varying systems based on what seat you're in or what vulnerability you or your opponents actually are. This can actually make a change, and I actually think this will be a trend that grows into the future, because I think that while there's added complexity, there is a bit of an edge there. So if you're trying to make a really serious partnership, it might be something worth consideration. And in the long run, I reckon that would be the best system that you can actually play, one that varies based on vulnerability and seat position that you're in. Is it worth all the complexity? Well, that's up to you. But I think 2/1's a very robust system. It's made it to over 60% of the World Championship, and it's my tip for potentially the best system. Anyway, thanks all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.